G'day mates, today's video is an absolute stacker. We're going to kick off talking about the huge nerf to the Spider-Man mythic, and not just what it means for the game with the Spider-Man mythic right now, but what it means for the future of Fortnite. This is the first time we've seen an item adjusted, not just taken out of competitive. I also want to talk about the Cash Cup, who's popping off. Mira and Booga's first time playing together went absolutely insane, but we have a few huge profile teams not qualifying yet again. Clicks and Day just missing out, Benji and Savage now not having played a single set lobby final. Also, I want to talk about how we have two of the best players in OCE leaving the region, and not to go to NA, but instead go to EU, and get your guys' thoughts on whether you think they'll do well. So, there's a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into it. Today's video is sponsored by World of Tanks. If you want to give it a try, click the link in the description down below to download it and give it a go. World of Tanks is a free-to-play online PC game with over 100 million different players worldwide. There are over 600 different tanks to choose from destroyers, artillery, and heavy tanks that are all designed with historical accuracy for authentic models. There are over 40 different battle arenas varying from forest, open fields, deserts, and even industrial areas. As you play the game more, you're going to earn experience, and you can modify and upgrade your tanks as you go to build better and stronger models. Like I said, if you want to give World of Tanks a go, click the link in the description down below. But as an added thank you to my viewers, if you use code TANKMANIA, you'll get 7 days free premium access, 250,000 credits, and access to some of the best tanks the game has to offer, including the premium tank Excelsior and the Tiger 131. So rally your friends, design a battle plan, and destroy the competition. Thank you again to World of Tanks for sponsoring today's video. Let's start off with a change that has a lot of people happy and a lot of people really upset before I give my thoughts. So we have HypeX tweeting out that next week we'll adjust Spider-Man web shooters to 20 shots instead of 80 in competitive. So in competitive only, not in public matches. This lower count encourages players to make more strategic decisions about when to use the item while retaining the usefulness as a powerful mobility tool. So, starting next week, which is going to be on Tuesday, the regular update time, we should be getting update 19.20. This is the one that's hopefully going to have Covert Canyon, the new POI, the Mythic SMG, bunch of crazy stuff, and we're going to have the Spider-Man Mythic being nerfed in competitive. Now, what are my thoughts on this? 20 uses is still a lot. What I usually try to get people's head around to figure out just how overpowered the Spider-Man Mythic is, and trust me, when I say overpowered, it's very strong, but I do like it because, again, how much it does reduce the skill ceiling. You can't argue that. It lets people rotate for free with very little knowledge and very little mechanics, but it's such a fun and exciting item for arena and creates cool clips and fun like moments that I'm willing to have the skill gap drop a little bit to have those fun items. That's what I've been asking about for seasons. I'm not about to complain, but it still has 20 uses. You got to remember how OP was the grappler, right? People would run the grappler when it was in the game for mobility, and it only had 10 uses. It couldn't grab material or loot like the Spider-Man can. It didn't shoot as far, and you took fall damage. So let's calm down on saying the Spider-Man Mythic is ruined now. It's just going to be useless. No one's going to run it because it's still a really, really strong item, especially when you can carry multiple of them. I don't think people are going to take up 2 slots to run them in cash cups, but remember, when you eliminate someone with them, they drop a full stacked Spider-Man Mythic. So now if you kill someone and they had 1 use left, it'll now have 20. So they are still going to be a strong item, especially in solos, but in duos, there's going to be more teams that are opting to carry them or carry meds or snipers or something else. Probably not snipers, mostly meds, but if they do carry them, they might have to be smarter when they use them. They might get a vehicle and use the vehicle to rotate the first 2 zones, then save the Spider-Man for endgame. Or maybe they only use 1 Spider-Man to get further and then tarp for a little bit. It just won't be that item that you can just switch your brain off and just pew, 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 just go through endgame, right? Like, you're gonna have to still use your brain a little bit, but it's still gonna be strong. So overall, I do think this is a very healthy change. I'm very excited for it. One drawback is obviously arena. It is gonna be nerfed in arena now as well. I've been saying for the longest time now, I'm honestly scared to play the game without the Spider-Man Mythic. I've been dropping at the bridge near Coney and near Shifty Shafts for the entire season since Spider-Man came out, like almost every single game exclusively, because I do not want to drop anywhere that doesn't have a Spider-Man because I'm just so used to using it. But again, in arena, maybe I'll now use it to rotate a little bit, but when I get into a fight, I'll now actually have to work on my high ground retakes rather than just Spider-Maning on height every single time. Like, I still see this as a healthy change for the game. I think a lot of us saw it coming. We knew something something was going to have to happen with the Spider-Man. The other thing I wanted to talk about though is this is one of the first changes we've ever seen where it's not just a loot pool change between competitive and pubs, right? Like having the shockwave launcher in pubs but not in competitive. We've seen that before. Just taking items out of competitive isn't new, but having an item function differently in competitive to the way it does in public matches is new, and that is a massive step forward for competitive Fortnite and Fortnite in general. This is what we've been asking about for a long time. Again, I'm not going to rehash up the topic of the SMG's broken, the MK7, whatever. A lot of people have been arguing, myself included, that if we have this huge divide between the public player base and the competitive player base with what should go into comp, what should go into pubs, why can't we have it where weapons actually function differently in competitive? Let's say the Stinger SMG, it does 1 less damage, or does like maybe it has like a 10% slower fire rate in competitive compared to pubs. Don't just take it out of competitive, because I'm sick of just arena and comp having nothing fun and pubs have all the craziness. Leave it in, but maybe balance it a bit like this. Make it a little bit weaker. I think this opens up a really, really cool possibility for the future of Fortnite to finally have the public player base and the competitive player base happy, because right now, for the longest time, I'm sick of seeing competitive Fortnite and Fortnite in general kind of feel like US politics, man. It's just two parties, both hate each other, and you can never get either one to agree. And if you're someone who's in the middle like me, who's like, yeah, you know, public matches are cool, I want to keep the casual player base happy, they spend lots of money on the game, they keep the game running, but also I love competitive, I love watching competitive, I want it to be fun, I want it to thrive. If you're in that middle ground, you're always going to piss someone else off. Every time I go on Twitter now and I have a comment on either the SMG or the Spider-Man, I'm trying to be balanced in my opinion, but I always have someone really angry at me for either not hating the SMG like they do, or talking about the SMG maybe being too strong, or you hate the Spider-Man, well, I love the Spider-Man, or if I say the Spider-Man's too strong, oh my god, you on the Spider-Man out of the game, you stupid sweat. Like, you see where I'm coming at? You've probably seen this. We shouldn't have the community so divided between the casual player base and the competitive. I just want everyone to be happy, and I want Fortnite to thrive, and I think this is a good step in the right direction. I think Spider-Man Mythic is still going to be really, really good, but it's not going to be as brain dead and overpowered, and teams who now don't get Spider-Man aren't going to be at as much of a disadvantage. Let me know in the comments though. Do you think it's too weak? Do you think it's too strong? Do you want it gone completely? Let me know. But either way, I think this is a really, really cool step for Fortnite, even outside of the Spider-Man Mythic. Up next, we have two very, very exciting international imports coming out of OCE and not going to NA, going to EU. We have two OCE players for the first time ever going to EU and seeing how they stack up. We have Vortex and Sunz. Now, if you haven't been following OCE closely, you maybe haven't heard about them. I hope you have, especially Vortex. Vortex has been dominating the OCE region for a very long time now and is held up by many to be top 3 guaranteed in the region, arguably the best, and a very, very scary fighter at that. Sunz as well has been doing phenomenal. I think Sunz has now won 7 cash cups, came runners up in FNCS, but Vortex has won FNCSs now as well. So both crazy players out of OC, and what has me most excited is they're going to Europe and it's looking like they've joined an org. They both put out the It's Official signing gif and they put a airplane and the German flags. This one's interesting. A lot of people trying to figure out what this means. Does this mean they're going to be boot camping in Germany, or does it mean a German org? And firstly, do I think they're going to be able to compete? Yes, I'm obviously biased being OCE, and I know a lot of people in the comments, especially EU fans, because EU are very loyal about their region and they know that their region is insane. But Vortex and Sunz are both very scary fighters. I'm not scared at all that with a little bit more practice they'll be able to hold their own fighting. But what I am motivated for is if they go as part of a boot camp, get coaching, which it looks like they've been working with Sven, which makes me want to say BL is maybe there, Become Legends might be the org they're joining. But if they get coaching and they get a boot camp and they actually get set up so they've got people taking care of all the lifestyle, cooking, you know, making sure they're organized, I really do think 2 top tier OCE players could work their way up and perform really well. I'll be happy to admit I'm wrong if they fail, but I have a lot of faith in them as long as they keep their heads switched on, they focus up, and like Muzz has just done on NA, players can do it on the big regions if they find the right team. And that's going to be the hard part. When you go to these regions, OCE players are not going to get a lot of respect on EU by the top tier pros. They're not going to get a job spot. They're going to have to fight for it. They're going to have to work for it. But just like Muzz did on NA, it is very, very possible, and I'm excited. We've never seen OCE players go to EU. We've seen Jarlan, Papi, and Zora go to NA back during World Cup and absolutely dominate, winning cash cups, dominating FNCS. We've now had Muzz go over and then win an FNCS. OCE players have proven it on NA, but can they prove it on EU? And I'm very excited to see. But as far as what org they're joining, we don't really know. Become Legends makes a bit of sense because obviously they have a very well-established boot camp. They've been working with Sven, but a lot of people are thinking the German flag thinks it might be now, it might be Loot Boy or it might be Wave as well. They both have established orgs, but either way, it's going to be cool to see because EU has a much more diverse actual boot camp scene. They don't just go to an org house like they did with the TNA boys at OC, which is really cool. It's awesome to see. I'm not knocking that, but go watch some of Become Legends videos and content. It is awesome. They have like entire facilities with coaches and chefs and people taking care of them. They get woken up at certain times. Like, it's a proper boot camp designed to get the most out of your performance. And I think seeing players like Vortex and Sunz go and take advantage of that, whether they do well or not, it's going to be super interesting to watch. So I thought I'd include that in here as well because it was not on your radar. It should be. I reached out to Sunz and Vortex, and obviously they're not going to leak what org or too many details, but unfortunately they're not going for this FNCS. They're going for the next one. And as someone who's about to move to NA in less than a week, I've been going through the whole headache of visas and trying to move during COVID. I'm kind of happy they're delaying it because honestly, trying to move around the world right now is not easy and you don't want to rush it. So not for this FNCS, unfortunately, but I'm very excited for the next one. Oh, also, I thought I'd put this in here. I hope you guys are looking forward to watching on EU Vortex, Vortexes, and Vortexia. That's just going to be awesome to try and have to figure out who the hell is who in these lobbies. Now, moving on to the duo cash cups, and I apologize, I didn't upload a video from round one. I just feel like there wasn't too much to talk about. I've got a lot going on with the NA move, so I'm not going to make too many excuses, but I apologize. I'll mention a little bit in here as well, talk about some of the big names, because obviously we did have Benji and Savage not qualify yet again. They kicked off the tournament with, I think, over a 40 kill win in their first game. Things were looking great. The momentum was there. Like I said, the week before, they just missed out on qualifying because their last 2 games, they went down early, and they only needed like 3 points from those games. They would have qualified, and they couldn't do that. So I thought this week is going to be the week, but it was a very similar story. And a lot of people now, you know, making rumors, people saying, oh, Savage has been posting photos with this girl on Twitter. He's now washed. I hate that logic that you can't have any life outside of Fortnite. If you watch any of Savage's content or videos on YouTube, you know he is still an absolute demon. I just think it's tilted. I just think Tilted Towers is a terrible round 1 drop, especially with the Spider-Man in the game the way it is with 80 uses. The risk to reward ratio isn't there. The fights take way too long because everyone is hides in the buildings. You get third party like crazy. Teams rotate in that have way better meds than you once you end up closing out the fights. Even if you do clear out all of Tilted with no third parties, you walk away with next to no loot. You get no Spider-Man. I honestly just think Tilted Towers for round 1 is just a nightmare. I don't think it's the drop to qualify, and I think that's been their biggest issue. I'm sure there's other things, like there's been moments where, you know, they've split and they haven't won a fight, but they've been around for years. I'm not going to break down and VOD review certain fights where they didn't play it as best as they possibly could, but they were still pretty close to qualifying, and I genuinely think if they went any other drop spot, they would have. That's just my take on it. Let me know in the comments if you agree, but I'm not going to go into too much more detail because I just don't think it's that serious. But it is sad that we're now going into week 4 and we haven't yet seen them play set lobbies because Benji was sick for week 1. Also, Clicks and Day, unfortunately, missing out on their qualifiers. A lot of people now, you know, aiming at Clicks and saying he's not IGLing well, he needs a coach. If he doesn't have his coach, it doesn't work. It's just, again, there's a lot of RNG right now in the round 1s. There's a lot of solid teams that aren't qualifying consistently. Yes, Clicks and Day are playing way better when they have their coach. Pretty much every single player does. I could still see a lot of moments where Clicks was picking up from what he's learned from BloodX and, you know, implementing it into their games even when he wasn't there. But for the longest time, I've been telling you guys, Clicks and Day's playstyle is very high risk, high reward. Clicks is one of the most mat intensive tarpers ever. What I mean by that is he builds very big tarps, uses a lot of materials, gives him and Dave room to then go for a refresh. In the current meta with Spider-Man, which they don't get, by the way, they don't have Spider-Man in round 1, everyone is just zipping and rotating past them, so it's much harder to find refreshes. So I don't want to make excuses for them, but it'll be interesting to see how they go in round 1 next week when the Spider-Man gets nerfed. I don't know if it'll have that big of an impact, but I think right now, if you're a round 1 team with that aggressive of a playstyle and you don't have Spider-Man, this is not the meta for you. So again, I don't have these huge kind of, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out, Clicks and Day aren't going to work, they're going to split up as a team. I think we'll see how they go next week. If they struggle to perform next week again, maybe some of those conversations will start. But with such a big gameplay change coming around the corner, which they haven't been abusing, which is the Spider-Man, I'm excited to see how they go. Outside of that, the other thing I did want to mention, because it was absolutely disgusting, was Umplify's solo clutch to qualify his team. And I feel bad because I can't show the entire thing. It's about 2.5 minutes long. I think he goes from 9 kills at the start of rotating zones to 20 kills as a solo to clutch up his qualification. It's on his Twitter. I'll link it down in the description down below if you want to go watch it. It is disgusting. A lot of people concerned when Matzo quit that Umplify might go with him, but no, Umplify is very much around to stay, and it's looking like he's as insane as ever. Wait, no, sorry. I'm just putting in a little kind of edit in here. They missed out on qualifying by 3 points despite this insane clutch. So Umplify still looking for a duo, but looking crazy. Moving on to the finals, EU Duo Cash Cup finals was one of the most exciting set lobbies I've watched in a minute. Like, obviously it's not FNCS, not DreamHack, doesn't have the money on the line, but the intensity of the last game and the entire tournament itself was ridiculous. Going into the last game, Nebs, Hellfire, Tayson, and Thomas were only separated by a few kills, and going into the last 10 teams alive, both of them were up as full duos with like 1 or 2 kills in it. You almost never see this. This was going down to like Tayson versus Vino at the end of FNCS. I know it's not an All-Stars or an FNCS, but having both teams alive that close on points at the very end makes it so exciting. So before I tell you exactly how it finished and talk about how insane both these teams are, let me just show you how it played out. Does he find this? No, Hellfire gets hit heavy, 77 health now. Still got plenty of shield to pop though. Tayson gets another elim onto QB, so they hit another punch. That puts them 6 points clear. So right now, Hellfire and Nebs really need to take down Tayson or Thomas. That's going to be their best chance to win this one out. And they're close to each other, though. They're one layer above each other. Tayson and Thomas taking a look at high ground. Decide it's not worth it. It's too high up. No. Vidil getting heavy shots. Thomas, though, makes the play for high ground. Tayson on 20 health. Thomas on 10 health. This could be the difference right here. Nebs and Hellfire are sitting pretty after this one. Hellfire takes down Birch. That's going to bring it down to 3 points of difference. Thomas has no builds. 20 health. He's stranded. He's in no man's land. Right now, we have Rezon's going to drop down, but no. Thomas takes him down and backs up Tayson. Thomas is a solo. He's got the 6 builds here, 7 kills. Trying to find what he can here. Tayson goes down. How's Nebs and Hellfire looking? Nebs and Hellfire still going as a duo. 5 elims, 197 points for Nebs and Hellfire. 206 for Thomas and Tayson. But Thomas has gone down. Sorry, Tayson's gone down. 5 teams, 7 players. Oh, a big shot from Thomas. Does he get another elim? No, that one gets stolen there. Thomas doesn't get that one. That could be the difference. Nebs and Hellfire are down below. Can they find Thomas? If Nebs and Hellfire can take down Thomas or someone else can, that'll be the difference, I imagine. They're still racking up placement down here. 198 versus 207. Thomas doing the best he can to solo clutch. 68 health. 1 build. And he goes down. There it is. 207 the mark. Hellfire and Nebs need 2 elims and a bit of placement. No! Nebs and Hellfire need to win this. This comes down to the win. They have come 2nd place 3 times today. They can't do it again. They have to win against Edison and Advise with 9 elims on the high ground. Nebs and Hellfire need to figure out what's going wrong in these 2v2s, because so far they haven't done as well. 1 elim to Nebs, 4 to Hellfire. They've got a good loadout. They've got good weapons. They don't have the mats. Can they spray them down? This is going to be the difference. Nebs takes the heavy damage. Nebs and Hellfire on the back foot right now. They're going to have to turn this fight quickly, but Edison taking a lot of storm damage. 10 health. He goes down. Nebs and Hellfire win this one. And that will be the difference because they win the final 2v2. Their first victory of the day. Nebs and Hellfire will win the Duo Cash Cup. So as you saw there, Nebs and Hellfire with that 7 elim win in the last game to beat out Tayson and Thomas, who got a 13 elim 4th. Like, they were going crazy to bring it back. They ended up winning the Cash Cup. Nebs and Hellfire got a lot of eyes on them at the moment. Hellfire, again, a lot of people hyping him up, and I've mentioned him as one of the most underrated players in the world right now and really proving it. And Tayson and Thomas HD need no introduction. Obviously, a lot of people are saying Tayson's been quiet this season, and I don't think he has. He's been placing top 5, top 10 on multiple regions almost every single week. I think it's because he's not winning that everyone's like, oh man, Tayson's washed. It's like, 2nd is still really, really good, especially on EU. But man, both teams have insane consistency with their games and especially their elims as well. But I want to mention a lot of people focusing on, man, Spider-Man's so broken, it's so brain dead, you need Spider-Man to place well. Neither of these teams had Spider-Man a single game. Like, they might get it end game. They might pick it up after they fragged out, like, you know, half-half, and Tayson or Thomas might have grabbed in that last game. Like, when they get elims, they grab it, but they don't have any drop that guarantees it. And there were plenty of games where they both played without Spider-Man a single time. So when we're going to see a nerf to Spider-Man in the coming weeks, teams that are already doing well without it compared to the teams that are needing it to fit into their playstyle, I'm really excited to see just how well both these teams will do. But are they now going to be more heavily contested as players stop dropping Spider-Man drops and try to go for different drops? Because Nebs and Hellfire did get Greasy Grove uncontested. That is super strong. If you find a vault, which you know you're going to, you get guaranteed Chili Chug splashes. You walk out with like 12 normal splashes. Like, we all know, very, very strong drop. Tayson and Thomas HD going a bit more of a low-key drop. They're going the north side of Sleepy. Still a really good drop, but not as strong as Greasy Grove, I'd have to say. But both of them doing insane. And the reason why I'm talking about only these 2 teams is because it was really a 2-horse race. race. It was 212 points, 207, and then third place, Hen and Queasy, again, an exceptional team on 160, 47 points behind. So Tayson, Thomas, Nebs, and Hellfire really did dominate this Cash Cup. We had Kefi and Melody up there, Vidil and Rezon finding a lot of consistency right now, but off the back of two final really good games, a 7 Elim 10th and a 10 Elim 6th. Elims are worth 3 points right now, so that was a big comeback from them in their last couple games. They had all of uncontested Kondo, so I really did want to see them come top 3, but at the same time, you know, it's still a tough rotate for them. There was a lot of North zones today, so I will give them a bit of an out, and hey, top 5 still ridiculous. We had Mustache and Malabuka in 6th, we had Wings and Force in 7th, Slove and SLQ in 8th, I never know how to say this team's name, I'm so sorry, and Rifler and Marine in 10th, so Marine no longer playing with Savid, now picking up Rifler, has got himself a top 10 in their first week in the set lobby. So EU was super exciting. That finish was so intense. I didn't think NA East was going to be able to match it, but NA East was pretty damn exciting. NA East equally close at the very end. We had Miro and Booga in their first Cash Cup together, getting 188 points. Didn't get a victory royale, but had really good consistent placements. Got a 6th, a 4th, a 2nd. Their worst placement being a 26th, but getting a 12th and 13th. Just really solid games in there, and honestly, they did look fantastic. Miro and Booga, again, a team that wasn't utilizing the Spider-Man. They were dropping chonkers, which, I mean, when you got like 20 splashes between you most games, and you've got a big chonker tied Lambo, you know, it's still very good. But again, when Spider-Man gets nerfed, other teams gonna do worse. It's very good for these teams that are already doing very well out of their drop spots. So Miro and Booga already clicking together, meshing together well. I mean, it just makes sense. They won 2 FNCS togethers. Why would they not work as a duo? Well, turns out they do. And this is cementing Miro as right now the best player of Chapter 3. I think most people have to argue. Coming out of Chapter 2, 2 FNCS wins, now popping off in solos and duos and multiple regions. I just feel like you can't argue against Miro being the best right now, or at least top 2, just looking so insane. We had Nani and Pump, a very underrated team. Remember, Pump now no longer playing with Sprite. His first tournament with Nani, which a lot of people, myself included, weren't really talking about, getting 184 points. We had Illist and Jack, another brand new team, first time playing together, 179. So a lot of these team swaps have worked really well in NA. We have Joji and Rokane, who I think right now have to be one of the most underrated teams in the world. They are placing really consistently, again, in multiple regions in duos. So Joji and Rokane, one to look out for. We had Dusky and Ganzo in 5th. We had Sneakersaw and Byla in 6th. Byla just coming off the back of almost winning the solo Cash Cup. Last few games, unfortunately, fell off pace. I talked about how he's an ex-console pro, now making waves in duos as well. Very excited to watch how he goes. We had Smite and Larson, same story. Smite is very stupidly right now named Centered Fan 23. Not stupid because he's a Centered fan, but stupid because he's placing really well and people aren't giving him the credit he deserves. So that is Smite now placing with Larson, a brand new team as well. Tahi Edgy, our week 1 winners, now getting top 8, so still up there, very consistent. Cold and Centered in 9th, and Commandment and Stretch, the first time we've seen them in set lobbies, getting a 10th place overall. A few times they had some really good games, a 7 Elim 2nd in their second last game. Stretch and Commandment just have not been enjoying the game and the meta that much, but still performing really well when they get to set lobbies, because, I mean, experience is experience. 2 of the best players in the world in set lobbies, no matter the meta, they will still do well. NA West so far has been bringing the hype, and we had a different team coming out on top on NA West. We had Jagvi and Solution on 196 with 2 wins out of their 6 games, playing really well, and a 3rd place in there, just beating out Arkram and Epic Whale in 2nd on 171. We love to see some new people on NA West pop off. Obviously, I'm a huge Arkram and Whale fanboy, gotta rep the NRG boys, but at the same time, I like to see someone else come out on top occasionally, keeps it spicy. We had Zuko and Josh in 3rd. We had Cold and Centered in 4th, playing really well across both regions today. 2 top 10s, almost 2 top 5s. We had G5RC and Kid Crazy GG, Natch and Hov, Quinn and Herbie, D-Jenny Omzo, Caden 40R, and Nico and Chris. And then we had Miro and Gleppo just outside top 10. I do find it interesting, one of the main keys to, I feel like, Booga's success as a team with Miro is they don't play together in every tournament. We had Booga play with Avery in these qualifiers and Miro play with Gleppo. So I don't know if it's like a playing together too much thing, like take this tournament seriously, and then if you want to mess around on other regions, go play with someone else, because we've seen this happen a lot with teams that Miro and Booga are in, not playing with their actual trio mates in other trio tournaments for other regions, choosing to play with entirely different teams, and it clearly works. I guess it's just like a don't spend too much time together thing, so when you are together, you're focused, you're taking it seriously. I don't know, but I thought it was interesting and it seems to work. Alright guys, that does it for another video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.